Well, good morning, everyone. Take your Bibles to Hebrews chapter 11 for our Sunday morning recap. And if I didn't get a chance to say this to you yesterday, happy Mother's Day. I hope you enjoyed a great time with family, that if you couldn't be with them, that you got the calls, maybe even got some FaceTime in there. Yesterday at the Journey, we had a wonderful time really experiencing this one reality, that God does not see us as our world does. He does not see us at the measure that we hold ourselves to. God is a very different measure. And so in Hebrews chapter 11, verse number 11, we're in the chapter that's really referred to as like God's Faith Hall of Fame, where he names off people and he says some things about their faith. Well, what's interesting is that when we're talking about Abraham and Sarah, if you read the accounts in Genesis 11, Genesis 14, 16, 18, 21, you just travel through their lives, what you'll find is that in the details that God includes about their lives, it doesn't seem like what he's going to say in Hebrews is the same. But that's where we need to recognize that God sees the fullness of our lives, the fullness of our faith, not the individual failures or successes, but the full or the totality of our faith. Listen to Hebrews 11, verse number 11. It says, "Through faith, Sarah herself received strength to conceive seed and was delivered of a child when she was past age, because she judged him faithful who had promised." And so we already have this statement that she believed in God, that she trusted God. And then it goes on and says, "Therefore sprang there even one of him as good as dead, so many as the stars of the sky in multitude, and as the sand which is by the seashore innumerable." And so we see this statement about the offspring of Abraham is going to be unnumberable, just like the stars and innumerable sand on the seashore. I mean, have you been to the beach lately? Have you picked up the sand at the beach? And if that could be numbered, then Abraham's descendants could be numbered. And so there's this statement that's being made here that God sees them differently than maybe even they saw themselves. And if we were to just read the Genesis accounts, we might come to the reality or the thought that those people aren't all that faithful. But he's not talking about the individual statements of faith or the individual actions of faith. He's talking about that inner desire to please the Lord and that belief that God is real, that he is powerful, that he could do this. And so what we're looking at in Hebrews is God's summation of Abraham and Sarah. So when Sarah is ready for God's promise to be fulfilled, she is still faithful to the Lord. That doesn't mean she didn't have doubts. It doesn't mean that she didn't struggle. She was still trusting the Lord with her life. And that's something that we need to remember. That even though it's tough, and even though we're waiting for God to come through, don't let the one part determine the whole. Let's make sure we understand that our faith is more than one piece of the puzzle. It's the whole thing. Do I trust the Lord with my life? Do I still come before him and pray and spend time with him even though he hasn't answered that one prayer request? Or have I given up on him and determined that he is not faithful and I'm not going to follow him anymore? Many people struggle to be faithful if God doesn't give them what they ask for in the minute that they ask for it. Sarah and Abraham, they waited God out. Yes, they made some mistakes. Desperation will cause us to do that. But they remained faithful all the way till the promise was fulfilled. God promised them this. He didn't say, well, maybe I might. He said, I promise you this is going to happen. So they stayed faithful to him, even though they had waited literally to the end of their lives before they received the promise. We need to trust the Lord like that, and we need to live for him. Not say we live for him and then live for ourselves, but live for him, because he is faithful. We also should return faithfulness to him. Have a wonderful start to your week.